you coming.
You bet.
You have a seat right there and
Where?
right there. And as soon as he gets back in here, we'll come in and speak with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Would you like any coffee or water or anything?
No, I could go to the bathroom real quick though, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
You can hold that, right?
You gotta go to the bathroom. She said she's already intimidated by you. She ain't coming in here. Felicia.
Hey there.
How you doing, sir? I'm Detective Allison Cedar Park, and you're
Eric? Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is your address?
It is 359 County Road 461. That's Troy. 76579.
7.
6579.
How far away is that?
It took me probably about an hour and 15 minutes to get here.
And what do you do for a living?
Train dogs.
And do you have a company name?
Elite Gun Dogs.
You train hunting dogs?
Yes, ma'am. we do that, and we also do some rehabilitating for dogs that are gonna be put down, for the city of Austin.
And basically the reason behind the day is that a lot of times when things like this happen, we like to give it a few days before we talk to people again. Even though we got written statements the night or day that it occurred, just due to the situation, a lot of times people aren't really, they don't recall things perfectly, or they just try to get it done as quick as possible because there's emotions and things going on. So in many instances, and this being no different, we try to set up re-interviews. That way we can ask our own questions, obtain more detail, and so it's not necessarily a change in whatever, or it's not going to change what it is that's in your initial written statement, but we just try to capture things in greater detail. That way we make sure that we've not lost anything, and that we turned over every stone that we could in the investigation. So on this particular night, it's my understanding you were at Billy's house, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And about what time did you get there?
I'm not sure. We probably got there at about 5, but I'm not positive on that.
If you know, fine. If you don't, or if you have an approximate, that's fine as well. So around 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was your purpose for being there?
Hanging out with friends. Every opening weekend of dove season, we all get together, and we decided not to hunt that evening, and we were going to take all our wives hunting with us on Monday morning, which we obviously didn't do, but so we're just having a barbecue.
And how long have you known Billy?
Oh, let's see, I'm 31 now, and so I've known him since I was, I guess, 14.
Okay. And this is something y'all do every year, have
Yes,
this
sir.
get together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it always at Billy's house? Okay, but it's a yearly event. Okay. And just prior to this occurring, what happened leading up to what did happen? Were y'all leaving? Were y'all just
Yeah, it was about
to do something else?
a little bit after 9. My parents were watching our son Mason, who's 2, and we rode there with Justin and Christy Bradley, who their 2 children were at his parents' house. They both live in Austin. So we were leaving early so we could go back to our parents' house and put our kids down and then go to bed. So that was while we were walking out the door, and that's when Rusty ran out.
And were the majority of people already outside, or were y'all all kind of in the process?
I think
of moving
everybody was pretty
outside?
much inside, and then there wasn't, not a lot of people were leaving, but I was with, it was 4 of us that were leaving at the time. And people might have been walking out to say bye and stuff like that, but for the most part, everybody was inside the house or in the backyard.
And did you go out the front door or the garage
The front door.
Okay. And so at what point were you in relation to the front door when Rusty ran outside?
As I was walking out the front door, I don't remember who it was, but there was more people coming out of the front door, and I saw Rusty bolt by me. I did reach to grab him, but I couldn't catch him. And do you want me to wait for you to
No,
okay.
yeah, I'll just try to.
Okay. Rusty ran out, crossed the street to the guy with the dog, did a boogie bark, like boo, boo, and ran in circles around the guy. Ran in one circle, left the guy, went up a driveway, and I'm out there because I know dogs and I was going to get Rusty. I knew there wasn't going to be a dog fight. I knew the guy wasn't in any kind of harm's way, but I've seen people freak out for less, just because a dog's running. So as I'm going over there, I'm saying, he's friendly, I'll get him. And then I was about 5 feet away from the guy. Like, here's Billy's house, and here's the guy on the other side of the street. The guy on the other side of the street with his dog is right there. I'm right here, and Rusty's right here. When Rusty made the second turn, he went up and almost touched noses with the dog, but not in an aggressive manner. And then Rusty was backing up and started to turn towards the house because somebody on the other side of the street was calling for him. And as that happened, the guy pulled out the gun and fired. And the first bullet, I believe he missed, and as I'm standing, I'm in shock this whole time, you know, and he's got this big bright headlamp on, and I recall seeing the bullet hit the ground next to me. And then as Rusty's making his way across the street, boom, 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 3 more shots.
Okay.
Immediately after that, I'm right there 5 feet away from the guy. Everybody else, after they heard the shots, had backed up and kind of got behind vehicles and stuff. And I said, "What are you doing? You just killed a dog for nothing. What are you doing?" Right then and there, the guy drew on me.
Okay, let's now, I'll
Okay.
kind of back up a
Yeah.
little bit. So you're at the door, Rusty bolts by, you try to grab him, but missed him. So, and when you walked out, did you see the guy across the street with the dog, or did you know where Rusty was?
Pretty immediately after I saw Rusty run by me, I realized what he was going over to do.
Okay. And so, did he immediately went toward ran across the street toward the man and the dog? Okay. And you said you called it something, some sort of bark?
A boogie bark, meaning, you know, when dogs are scared and they're unsure about something, they run around in circles, woo, woo, instead of boo, like they're gonna eat something, you know.
So when Rusty first got to this man and dog, is that when he made the circle, or what happened?
Yeah, right when he got to the guy, he ran in a circle around the guy, boogie barking. And then, if I recall correctly, after that, I'm telling him, he's nice, he's friendly, let me get him. Rusty runs up in the driveway, comes back down, does another circle and a little boogie bark, and then is in front of the guy and kind of boogie barking backtracking with his front down and his butt up in the air, like almost playful. And as he's backing up, if somebody's calling him, Rusty turns to go to that person, and that's when the guy started firing.
So he goes up the first time, runs a circle, kind of doing that bark.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said he leaves and goes up a driveway?
Kind of walked away up the driveway because I think he knew I was coming after him to get him, and he was just being a...
Which driveway did he...
If the guy was right here, it was the driveway that would be in front of him.
Okay. So was Rusty going up a driveway on the same side of the street as everybody
him.
else, or the guy?
As the same side as the guy.
Okay. And now, about how far are you from the guy, the dog, and then Rusty? By that time, when he's kind of up in the driveway?
Yeah, from anywhere from 3.5 to 5 feet, maybe. Okay. Somewhere, I was pretty close.
And then, so Rusty comes back out of the driveway, and then that's when he kind of goes nose to nose with this other dog?
Yeah, they never ever touched. I mean, it was probably about this far away from the nose.
Okay. And how far away would you say their noses were?
About 1.5 feet, maybe.
And was he still barking at that point when they were kind
Not
of...
when they were at nose to nose. It was
Okay.
boo, 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 and backing up, and then that's when...
So then he started backing up, but barking at the same time,
Yeah.
kind of...
Correct.
And at that point, when he's backing up and barking, since you were already 3 to 5 feet away in the beginning before he came down, were you pretty close to Rusty then while he's backing up?
Oh yeah, I was almost able to grab him, but I would describe it as like a triangle. If this is the guy, I'm right here, Rusty's right here. So in order to get to Rusty, I'm almost there, and then Rusty's backing up, probably backing up for me, and then turns and starts coming back, and when the guy fired.
Did this guy, did he ever say anything at all
No.
to you while you were telling him he's friendly, or
No, not at all.
any of this? Did you ever see him produce the weapon at all, or did you not know about a weapon until the shooting started?
I didn't know about the weapon until the shooting started. I was more looking at Rusty.
So you never saw exactly at which point he produced this weapon or even had it out or was
No.
intending to do anything like this?
I'm fairly certain when Rusty made his first circle around the guy did not have a gun drawn. I could see him more clearly then, and then I focused my attention on Rusty. And then the next thing you know, I hear that first shot, which I think might have missed, and hit the street, and then I was just watching Rusty running back, getting filled with holes. And then I turned around, "What are you doing, you idiot?" That was I explained to him, I have dog fights all the time. It takes 2 seconds to break one up, but there wasn't even a dog fight. And no dog ever gets killed.
So how far do you think Rusty was from this guy whenever that first shot was fired?
Let's see. It's all kind of a little bit rusty in my head. Probably 3.5 to 5 feet, about the same distance I was from him, because he was backing up at the time of the shot. And that was the first shot. His other shots were when he was 10 feet away. No longer a threat at all.
And so when he fired that first shot, that Rusty was facing him, but that's whenever he had his rear end up and his paws down, or his front down, and was.
But I think by the time he fired and drew the weapon, I didn't see him draw the weapon, but by the time he fired, Rusty had already turned, making his way back towards the other side of the street. Because like I said, it was like a triangle. And if he had shot him when he was in front of him doing that, then I wouldn't have seen that first bullet hit over here by me.
Okay. And how long do you think between so it wasn't just consecutive shots, it was one and then three?
It was boom, 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 boom.
Okay. And so how long do you think it was between the first shot and then the second group of shots?
Maybe not even a second. I mean, he's a fast dog. It doesn't take him long to get from across the street or halfway across the street. And you recall 3 more shots? Yes, sir.
Okay. And the second grouping of 3 shots, that was done when Rusty was actually moving
towards the house, towards the other side of the street. And I mean, I guess you were there that night?
I was not.
Okay, but if you were there, you could clearly see where the blood came out, where he got hit, and it was all on the, beyond the halfway part towards the other side of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now Rusty's been shot. And you're still where you were originally at, that 3.5 to 5 foot away?
Yes, sir.
And is this guy saying anything at this point in response?
Immediately he's jawing on me, "Back up, back up, back up."
So he turns a gun towards
He
you?
pointed it on me for a good 5 seconds or so before I wised up and backed up a little bit.
And what did he say to you?
I think he said, "Back up."
And did you say anything back to him, or what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying, "What are you doing? You just killed this dog for nothing. What are you doing? What's wrong with you?"
And did he say anything, or anything
Well,
in
I
response
remember
to
hearing
that?
him antagonizing other people, saying, "Does anybody here have a gun? I do. I do. Who's next?"
Really?
Yeah.
Nobody told me that the other night.
Really?
It was over.
I've heard from several people that they heard him say that. And he was just waving that gun around, pointing it at everybody with no control, and pointing it in my face. I wasn't a threat to him at that point. I mean, did become agitated after the fact of him pointing a gun in my face, but who likes to have a gun pointed at their face?
And so now you're at the point where, have you backed up now?
I'd say about 5 seconds after the shot, me and my wife were trying to break it down into seconds last night. About 5 seconds after the shot, I remained close to him. About 10 seconds after the shot, I was walking back I was backing up. About 15 seconds after the shot, I had a friend of mine grab me, 2 of my friends. And I had a beer bottle in my hand at the time, and I was so angry and frustrated. I wasn't throwing it at him. I was just flailing my arms around, and the beer bottle went about 5 feet from me.
And then, so now one group's on one side of the road, and this man and his dog and his weapon are on the other side of the street at this point.
Correct.
And so the beer bottle's flown, and y'all are on opposing sides of the street. What's the next thing that happens?
Next thing that happens is my wife told about 5 people to pull me inside the house and stay in the house.
And is that what happened?
Yes, sir.
So after they took you in the house, you weren't outside for any of
No.
the rest of what occurred?
No, not until the end when the police showed up and detectives showed up.
So then, and so between them taking you inside and the police coming, you don't know what was occurring outside?
No, sir.
Okay. So the next thing you know of after they took you inside is when the police came in to speak with you or got there?
Yes, sir. And there was another woman in there, I believe it was a neighbor of Billy's girlfriend, that was crying, and I was out on the back porch kind of consoling her. And yeah.
You mentioned that he had a headlamp on.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other sort of lighting outside, or was it just a
I
headlamp?
believe there was a street light there, but the headlamp was probably, if I had to guess, some kind of tactical headlamp that's super, super bright. So whenever you're looking at him, all you can see is that light. So that was what I saw as far as lighting.
Did this dog that was with this other guy, what was that dog doing during all of from the initial approach of Rusty to the circles and the driveway and nose to nose?
The guy was standing, straddling his dog with his leash in his hand. So the dog was underneath the guy.
Did that dog ever bark or move out from between his legs that you know of, or was he having to try and restrain that dog in any way?
Looked like maybe he was restraining him, but I think, you know, like I'm around dogs every day in big groups that are let out, and I think that dog wasn't being aggressive because Rusty wasn't being aggressive. He knew that Rusty was just boo, and it wasn't like coming out to get your throat, you know, and so that dog was probably reacting in the way most dogs would, like, okay, what's wrong with this dog, and not as if he was being attacked. So I did not notice that dog bark to answer your question or do anything like that.
Okay. In regards to to your experience, and we're speaking about you and what you saw and what you experienced, I know it's difficult at this point, but not what's been discussed since then or tried to be worked out since then. Is there anything else that you want to add as far as anything that transpired between you and this man that we haven't discussed?
No, just I really want to reiterate the fact that he was pointing a gun at me, and you know, I don't know if that was justified or not. I wouldn't think so. And then I was also, I don't know if this is true or not, but the cops told us that his clip was empty. One of the cops told us that. And so it'd be interesting to know if he actually did pull the trigger on me, because he was completely out of his mind.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, there's no way to find that out, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. And the only other thing I'd like to add is it seemed like, you know, I think he would have been more justified in doing it had he had done it when Rusty first approached him out of nowhere, doing the circle around him. If he'd have pulled out and shot right there, it still would have been an awful tragedy, but it would have made a little bit more sense to me than Rusty doing that, Rusty running off, Rusty coming back and doing it, and then backing up. It's like the guy realized, oh wait, I have a gun on me, I can shoot this thing. And his response time was just way too late, and was firing on the dog when the dog wasn't a threat anymore, if the dog ever even was. I guess I already said he was flashing his muzzle at everybody, not just me, but I happened to be the one that he held on for the longest, right in my freaking face, you know.
Okay. So were you, had Rusty been picked up by the time you were taken in?
By the time I was taken inside, no.
Right.
Rusty ran to the curve. My wife was there, and Rusty went to my wife's arms, and she tried to hold pressure, and then Amber was there, like the split second after. And then Amber was kneeled down by his head, and my wife was trying to hold pressure on the blood because he was still kind of alive. But she said it was just too crushed, there was nothing she could do. And then about 2 seconds from him laying on the ground there, he was dead.
Did they ever pick Rusty up and take him somewhere, or did wherever he stopped
I'm
at?
pretty sure that where he stopped and laid down is where he died. He brought himself there. But then again, at that time I was face to face with this guy, so I can't tell you for sure.
But what you do know is by the time you backed away, Rusty was already where
Laying
he was
in the
at.
grass, dead, yeah.
And again, to your recollection, this guy never said anything until all the shooting was over?
Correct.
How long have you known Rusty for?
Since he was a pup, so I guess about 5 years.
Had he ever attended any of your training, what you do for a living, or
No.
had you known Rusty to ever attend any sort of training?
Yeah, I believe they took him to PetSmart training because I made fun of him for it.
And what was that for?
Just obedience.
Obedience?
Yes, sir.
How many times would you say you've been over to Billy's house? Is it just kind of a once a year thing, or every few weeks, or something
No,
else?
not too often since we live so far away. In the last year, well, I was there a lot last dove season. In the last year, our buddy David is a vet, came in from Michigan to visit, and I went over there and we all spent the night there one night. So I'd say 3 to 4 times a year maybe.
Okay.
And the last time we were over there before this, we had my son there, and my son was laying on Rusty while Rusty was on the dog bed. He was not an aggressive dog. He was very trustworthy. I don't know if that helps.
When, what type of dog was Rusty? And what I'm asking is, say you drive up to the house and nobody's outside, everybody's inside, Rusty's inside, and you go knock on the door. Would Rusty bark, or when you open the door, would he bark and walk
He
in
would
because
bark.
he didn't know you? Or?
Yeah, he would bark.
Okay.
The dog's supposed to do in my mind.
And so you knock on the door, and you know, they say come in, or they come to the door and let you in. And then what would Rusty do? What was kind of his reaction when you would walk through the door?
He'd walk away.
Okay. He wouldn't bark?
I mean,
jump up
initially
and
he might
down?
come up to you, boo, and then he'd walk away. It was no big deal.
Had you ever been over there or around Rusty when other dogs were present?
Yes, at their previous house, the house him and Amber used to live in, their neighbors had 2 dogs, and they would get together every day, and like they would go to work and they'd bring the dogs over to play. It was like kind of a daily thing.
And to your knowledge, has Rusty ever been involved in any sort of skirmishes with other dogs?
No, not at all. And I brought my dog over to Billy's house last dove season, and they played together in the backyard. And, no, never an issue.
Is there anything else you think we'd need to know, and as a matter of continuing this investigation at all? I mean, I think we have a pretty good idea of the, you know, what the things that occurred after the fact, primarily since you were the closest, according to Billy, that I wanted to speak with you. Specifically about the interaction that the dogs and the dog and the man had, as far as where they were and kind of how this played out.
Yeah, okay. I think I've explained to you to the best of what I can remember what happened. And yeah, they can, you got it all.
I don't have anything else. Do you?
I think you've covered it very well, so.
You know, just to let you know, it's unknown how this is going to go. I mean, not how it's going to go. Of course, charges have been filed and things of that nature, but as to whether it's going to be plea agreements reached, or a full-on jury trial or something of that sort, is just unknown. So it very well may be likely that at some point you're called back to testify at trial or something of that sort. But there's different ways that things work through the justice system that really we don't have a say or a part in. But nevertheless, it's likely that, especially being there, being a witness, and being as close as you were, that at some point down the road, the DA's office will be in touch with you as far as proceeding forward and what may or may not happen.
Okay.
And really, that's at this point, that's all we know, is that the charges are filed and the things have happened that we can actually do. And then from this point, other than gathering information, which is what we're continuing to do, it'll go to the DA's office, and then they have the case, and how they proceed forward is really out of our hands to be able to answer questions or where it's at or what's going on with it. We just won't know on a day-to-day or maybe even a weekly basis, and it can take a while.
As far as him pointing the gun at me, is there any kind of action I should be taking, or is that something?
Well, I don't want to say that, I mean, as far as action taken, the thing is, the charges that have been filed, the warrants that have been issued kind of encompass everything that occurred to everybody. Now, ultimately, each time somebody does something, technically it can be a separate charge. If he pointed the gun at Amber or he pointed it at you, or he pointed it at these people. But what you really don't, I mean, we've got those single charges, and they encompass what's occurred from that point to all of the statements, the supplements, and all of the information that we've gathered. And what you really don't want to do is just kind of pile things on, because it's not going to further the case. We know what's happened, and so, you know, if you're going to file, you know, 5 counts of this and 3 of that and 4 of these, even though you've got all that down, it just kind of muddies the water.
I was just wondering if that might help to, you know, go to punish him more by that, because I was the one that was right there with the gun right at me. Everybody else got muzzle flashed, but I was right there with the gun pointed at me in fear for my life. So.
And we've got that information. It'll all be included. And, you know, if the time comes where if it were to go to trial and you testify, then those are questions that you would be asked and be able to explain and all that. It just, it really wouldn't, at this point, it wouldn't further anything, or, you know, to say that, well, it was this much worse because he pointed the gun at 6 people versus 5. I mean, the act in and of itself is enough for the charge that we filed, and everybody that's there and had that occurred is all listed and included. So, but, and I spoke with Billy this morning, and basically it's unknown how, there's different ways that this works, as far as if he takes it to a full jury trial, that could take upwards of a year or better, just because of the process and how that all works. If he were to plead guilty to some or all of the charges, generally speaking, that can occur quicker than going to a full jury trial. So, but I would not imagine that anything will, I mean, the justice system and the way this process is going to proceed, I don't really foresee a conclusion of this any sooner than, say, 3 or 4 months. I could be surprised, and you know, of course, the quicker things are, the more things kind of settle down, because of course it's, you know, being there in the neighborhood and all the people that were there and involved and things of that sort. But the truth is he is given a bond on the charges, and if he can come up with the money to get out, that's what happens. And so whether that's he's out for 6 months or a year and a half, then he's innocent until proven guilty. Is what'll happen. So I mean, but certainly you have our information and to contact if anything comes up, or questions or anything of that sort. It's just that we may not be able to tell you immediately, and it's not necessarily because we're just holding information from you. It's that once it leaves our hands, it's out of our control as to timing.
Well, I'll just be on standby waiting to see if I can do anything else.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I know it was a long drive, but it's important information, and we want to make sure that we don't miss anything.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm on my way.
All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank y'all.